Hello everybody, Dr. Cole here, Sunday evening, October 25th. We're moving into week 11 of Political Science 1013 for the fall term of 2020. Everyone, what we have this week is on Friday, October 30th, we'll be taking our third 100-point exam of the term. That'll be available all day for 24 hours on Friday, the 30th. 50 items. Once again, expect a mixture of mostly true-false, but also 10 or 15 multiple-choice items. We will chat about the exam Thursday evening, the 29th, at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time for 45 minutes. The material for the exam is Units 5 and 6 on the presidency and the federal bureaucracy, including the material that we read for quizzes 5 and 6. Expect 10 or 15 items repeated from those quizzes. Also, everyone, be sure and look at chapters 10 and 11 from your textbook. You can expect a handful of items, maybe 5 or so out of the 50, to be drawn more or less directly from textbook chapters 10 and 11. Okay, now, looking at these two units, to go over them very briefly. Okay. In Unit 5, we began looking at several modern presidents, going back to Presidents Carter and Reagan through Obama and Donald Trump. We talked about the different roles that a president can play, different things that are expected of the president, roles that the president is expected to carry out. Roles such as Commander-in-Chief and Chief Executive are spelled out in the Constitution. Others are just expectations that have set in upon the president as the years have gone by. We talk about presidential power, the powers that are spelled out in the Constitution, which certainly did not exhaust presidential power, but the issue of presidential power in the area of national security and national defense is fairly fraught because of the development that people perceive that in the post-World War II era, much of Congress's power in the national security area has shifted over to the president. Okay. Congress is supposed to have the power to declare war, but although no war has been declared since 1941, there have been dozens or perhaps hundreds of military interventions, largely on the president's own initiative. So that causes a concern. One of the aspects of the presidency that's laid out in the Constitution is the process of presidential elections. And we lay out the various steps in the presidential election campaign, an election campaign that's different from just about all our other elections. Okay. Beginning with the primaries and caucuses, in which delegates are selected to the national conventions, with activity maybe stretching back a year before the primaries begin as the candidates jockey for position. Then there are the conventions themselves, at which the nominees are officially nominated when the delegates vote to make them the party nominees. Those, of course, were disrupted this year because of the pandemic and had to be conducted virtually. Okay. After the conventions, we get into the general election campaign itself. And we tried to offer some observations about how the general election campaign might go and how the campaign is conducted. Of course, we'll have a bit more to say about that next week at this time, because a week from tonight it will be November 1st, and we'll be just a day or two away from the 2020 presidential election campaign itself on Tuesday, November 3rd. All right, we go on from there to go back to the topic of presidential power and various power resources that presidents can draw upon when it comes to, for instance, trying to influence Congress to pass a bill that a presidential administration supports. And we lay out several resources that presidents can draw upon to get something like that accomplished. Okay. Now, there's more to the presidency than just the president. And so we finish this unit by discussing the bureaucratic apparatus around the president, the White House staff, such positions as the Chief of Staff, the press secretary, the budget director, the national security advisor, and the cabinet. This is the very last thing we talk about, but we mentioned the cabinet plays a very different role in our system than it does in the British system, in which they have cabinet government. We don't quite have that. That's discussed at the very end of those notes for Unit 5. Then in Unit 6, basically what we try to do is lay out the various components of the federal bureaucracy, the cabinet level departments, and the many other bureaucratic entities that are part of the federal bureaucracy. And then we went on to discuss difficulties that presidents have with managing the federal bureaucracy. So that is Units 5 and 6 in a nutshell. Okay, so you'll be tested on the class notes for Units 5 and 6, the quiz material for quizzes 5 and 6, and perhaps a very few items drawn from chapters 10 and 11 in the textbook, which were your assignments for those Units 5 and 6. So that exam will take place all day for 24 hours on Friday the 30th. And the evening before, Thursday the 29th, we will chat about the exam for 45 minutes beginning at 7 o'clock Central Time. So good luck on the exam, and we will look forward to seeing you in the chat room, some of you at least, Thursday evening. Take it easy.